Kaan is next. Kaan is there. He's a great entrepreneur, by the way. He's working in Wanelo'dan. He'll share his whole experience.
Hello everyone. First of all, thanks for having me here. It's also great to see many familiar faces in the audience. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my experience in Turkey, and then I want to focus on the story of Wanelo, which is my current startup. I joined as one of the first engineers, and I think it's going to be a good follow-up to Michael's talk and the question, because it was founded by a female solo non-technical founder, and I want to focus on how we rewrote the site from scratch and did not fail, interestingly, and also how we went from a couple of thousand users to over 11 million users without spending a penny. So I got my computer engineering degree in 2006, and I worked at 3 different companies in Turkey before moving to here, US, in 2010. And the last company I worked at was actually founded by myself and 3 of my friends. It was called Kaan Meralan'ın. It was a vertical search engine, and our initial focus was e-commerce. So basically it was a shopping comparison site. We had worked on the project as a side project for about a year, and then we got some funding from government, and then we quit our job and it became a full-time gig for us. And I think we were selected one of the Etohum companies in 2009, if I'm not wrong. Unfortunately, Kaan Meralan'ın didn't last for too long, so we failed, and then I'm not going to go into details why I think we failed in this talk, but if anyone is curious, just grab me after the talk. I'm going to stick around for a while. So after I realized that there wasn't any future in Kaan Meralan'ın, I started to look around to find out what my next move should be. Honestly, I was thinking of moving to Europe, find a job in enterprise Java world, since I had some experience on it. And then one day, one of my friends who happened to be in here asked me that they were looking for developers for speeddate.com, and that simple actually G-Talk chat happened to make my journey to Bay Area. I worked at SpeedDate for about 1.5 years. We had a really strong engineering team there. I learned a lot about moving fast without breaking things much. But although SpeedDate later acquired by Match.com, in reality it was also a failed startup. So maybe some of you guys can see the pattern here being failed startups. But I got out of there sometime before things started to crumble. And at that time, I thought that I wasn't ready to start my own company because I didn't have any experience in here. And so I thought that maybe I should join a very early stage startup as an engineer because I thought that it would be the closest experience to building your own company. And that's how I ended up working at Wanelo. Wanelo, which comes from want, need, and love, is a social shopping platform. So you can find millions of products from all around the world, and like every other social platform, your experience is tailored for you based on your interests, likes, people you follow, stores you follow, products you save. And Wanelo actually started as an idea in 2010. Our founder and CEO, Dina, she was frustrated with the current state of the shopping at that time. She was really unhappy that she didn't know what her friends shop. And also she had a hard time finding unique products in malls. Because, malls are basically a predictable set of stores with predictable set of products. So she had a full-time job in LA at that time, and with her own savings, she hired a couple of developers in India and had the initial version of the site implemented. She had worked on that for about 2 years, I believe, as a side project, until the day came she realized that this is the thing she wanted to work on. So she quits her job, leaves LA, moves to San Francisco, and tries to raise some money and build a team, which was basically very hard for her in the beginning. You guys asked a couple of questions regarding that. So she was a non-technical solo founder. So she got, I think, 40 rejections and before she got a yes. But by perseverance, she managed to raise the initial seed round. And I think it was about the time when I met her. So when I first heard about Wanelo, I liked the idea a lot. I was also frustrated with the fragmentation of e-commerce sites, and that was one of the things I liked when I was working at Pioneer. Anyway, eventually I decided to join her, like as one of the first engineers. So on my first day, we were 6 people in the office, and actually we were in the same co-working space with Michael. They were working on social camp at that point. So we were 6 people. Three of us were new hires. One of them was still actually is our CTO. The other guy, Atasai, an exceptional engineer who's a long-time friend of mine, and actually one of the other reasons why I took the job in the first place, because I needed someone else that I can fully trust in the early days of Wanelo. So 6 strangers, we are sitting in a room. What we had was a website that attracted like a couple of thousand users, and actually a very sluggish website which had been developed for 2 years on a very old Java stack, and which had accumulated very interesting but unused features. So there were actually 3 options before us. One of them was just keep working whatever we have, and whenever we hit a wall, we just refactor it and try to fix it. The other thing was keep the backend as is and try to replace frontend with more modern tools. And the third option was screw it, just rewrite everything from scratch. So we went with the third option, which wasn't really wise. It was, I believe, ballsy but also frightening decision. I was almost sure we were going to fail because even if you rewrite a smaller piece of a larger system, it usually fails. And yet we are talking about replacing an entire architecture. Interestingly, we didn't fail. Everything worked great after we turned on the switch. I'm still, from time to time, I still think why we didn't fail, what were the reasons that made us succeed. I think there were a couple of things. One of them was we were really great at saying no in that period. So both engineers and actually product guys. So if we thought that we don't need a specific feature, we just left it out. Or if you think that we don't need a specific feature for the initial release, we just didn't do it. Also, in terms of engineering, if a piece of code wouldn't scale in 6 months, but would just work fine for the initial launch, we just took the shortcut. Other than that, we were also very good at, we were really focused as a whole company. We did our best not to distract each other or get distracted by other things. And the third thing I can think of is we had a really well-tested code base. So even if the site wasn't tested by real human beings, robots just did fine for us. Anyway, this is the whole, almost the entire rewrite story. I still, as I said, do not recommend it for like 99% of the time. It was somehow inevitable for us because we had to create a new environment where we can move faster and just bite the bullet. So we are in now mid-2012. So we have a decent website up and running and a steady user growth. So what was next for us? The next thing for us was actually a more aggressive user growth. So remember the days Dina, our founder, had outsourced the development of Wanelo. So she spent like $20 a day, I think, to acquire the first 1,000 users or so on Facebook. And actually that was the only time we did paid user acquisition at Wanelo systematically. And now we have over 11 million users according to the latest public numbers. And all of those users, almost all of them are like organically grown. So how did we pull it off? I think the short answer is we had a very simple yet powerful product which that resonated with our early users. I know this is a very boring answer, but honestly, I think this is the truth. Having said that, there were two main growth channels we were able to exploit. One of them was word of mouth, and the second was having a very high ranking in App Store. So word of mouth worked great for us because our user base is very vocal about the things they like and they don't like. They like trying new apps all the time, and they tend to stick to them as long as they like it, and as long as they don't get bored or distracted by new apps. As I said, the second blooming channel was App Store. So right after we rewrote the site, one of the first things we did was we released an iOS application. That was something our users were asking for a while. And I think it was one of the best decisions we made early on because it transformed us into a mobile company. So today, more than 85% of our users are on mobile, Android and iOS combined. Today, whatever we do it for mobile. Whatever feature we want to implement, we design it mobile first. Whatever we want to test, we test it on mobile. And later, if you think that we should have that on web as well, we just do it. So after 6 months, we released the application. We were sitting at the top of lifestyle category in US, and we were ranked higher than Twitter, Facebook, or Spotify, or any other giant app you can think of in the general apps category. So with just this, we got like tens of thousands of users each day, and which was a great thing for a small startup like us in the beginning. But of course, it didn't stay like that forever. I believe it's in the nature of startups. In every stage of your startup, there will be different tactics or channels that would work for you. Word of mouth and App Store worked very well for us for a while, but we needed to find other ways to keep growing. And actually, that was about the time when we dig into growth deeper and came up with the initial framework that we even use today. So what growth means for us is basically, let's say that we have a bucket. So we have new users coming in, and we have resurrected users like white walkers. And we also have, we are losing, from the bottom, we are losing dormant or inactive users. So optimizing this bucket has 3 legs, and each leg requires actually different actions. In order to get more signups, for example, what we do is that first, SEO. Although e-commerce is a very crowded and competitive space, we try our best. Like viral channels, although Twitter and Facebook are not as prolific as they were as a growth platform, we still have some integrations. And also Pinterest, I think, is becoming a really important platform because they provide really interesting tools. And they have really good analytics. So we also try to use them as much as possible. The other thing is that, of course, sign up conversion experiments. So not only should you get more users to your site, but also you should convert them to real users. Because most of the time, sign up users don't bring much value, at least in our case. So we keep experimenting on mobile web or desktop or even our iOS application to keep the conversion as much as possible. So this was for optimizing new users. In order to resurrect as much as users, what we do is that we have email and push notification campaigns. Personally, I'm not a big fan of those, but unfortunately, this is the only way you have today. Of course, you have to optimize your application in a way that you keep your users as engaged as possible and lose them less quickly. These are the growth tactics we used so far, but of course there are many other ways that you can grow. You could do PR. You could grow through business development. You could always do paid user acquisition as long as you make money. Some companies, for example, use their strong engineering to get customers, like Stripe. Stripe has a really strong engineering team and culture, and that's actually how they get their initial customers. I usually don't like books on startups. I usually find them like full of bullshit, but there is this book called Traction, a startup guide to getting customers. It has a yellow cover, you can find it on Amazon. It's written by DuckDuckGo's co-founder and CEO, the search engine which takes privacy very seriously. I think that book does a decent job on explaining the overall growth tactics you can use, and also it lets you to, it shows you how you should approach growth as a company and how you should frame your growth strategies. I think I also should say a couple of words on how does it feel like being a very early engineer of a very early stage startup. So if you want to feel the excitement of like building a new thing, but if you feel like you are not ready for it yet, or you don't have enough experience for it yet, I think joining an early stage company is a great experience. Not only do you learn building a product, building a company, building relationships with your early users, but also you grow as an engineer. The initial challenges you face in the early days of your startup is very different than the challenges you would face in the later stages. And actually, I honestly find the early stage challenges quite fun. So I highly recommend for those who want to try something like that, as long as you find the right team and product, because I think the team is like one of the most important things as an early stage startup. Because as I said, you are in a room with 6 strangers and you spend like 10, sometimes 12, 15 hours of your day with those guys. So you should have a really good communication going along with them. So this is my like basic talk. So if you have any questions, I think I can take them. Yes.
Any questions? Yes, over there. Just curious. You said that the lady who started the company had a lot of challenges in the beginning. How was she able to get funding if she did any? How did that kind of work?
Okay, the question is, how did Dina, our founder, manage to get the funding? How did she come over the challenges? Actually, she kept mailing investors like almost every week. Hey, we are growing. Hey, we are growing. Hey, we are growing. But none of them cared actually, because of the reasons Michael actually mentioned. Because she's non-technical. She doesn't have any experience in startups. She's a solo founder, so she didn't have anybody with her at that point. And I think what helped her a lot is that she had a product, although a very crappy product, I would say in the beginning, but she had some users, very engaged users. Even at that time, we had 1,000 users or so coming daily to our site. If you look at Twitter at that time, you will see users loving Wanelo. They tweet about it, although there are only 1,000 users. You go to Twitter and you see like 10 tweets. So which is really something very important. The engagement was also very high. And after a while, once she proves that she has users coming in and it is growing, and after getting the first yes, you know, investors like to follow others after the first yes, it was much easier for her to raise the seed round.
Hey, I'm just curious about, can you tell us a little bit about your personal story and how you ended up here?
Okay, as I said, I graduated from med school in 2006, and then I worked at like 3 different companies. One of them was one of the biggest enterprise companies in Turkey, and then I got bored after a while, and I wanted to try something new. And one day I was looking at one of the shopping comparison sites in Turkey at that day. I entered the query, it didn't return any results, And I said, hey, how come they cannot return anything? It should be very easy to do. And there were like 2 other guys with me. We said that, okay, we can do it in a month. And we worked on that 2 years. And after that, we failed. So it wasn't a 1 month project. But I think we learned a lot along the way. Burak and Etohum was also a great help in the last year of our journey. And after I realized that we were going to fail anyways, actually I did want to try something new, and that's why I wanted to go out Turkey. Europe was the easiest solution because time difference is less. It's easier to find jobs in Europe. You can just get on a plane. It's a 2-hour or 3-hour flight at most. You can get the interviews. And if you have certain experience like Enterprise Java, you can find jobs in Netherlands, like Sweden, Norway, Denmark. They do a lot of work like that. But as I said, one day, just by luck, one of my friends here told me that they are looking for a developer. And that I didn't even think about it for a day or two. Once I got the offer, I accepted it, and I came here. And the story of Wanelo is that I just wanted to be in a very early stage of a startup here because I wasn't ready to build my own, as I said. And I still believe that it's still like the closest experience you can get founding your own company. And you get the benefits not dealing with many like uninteresting company-related things because you have your CEO doing that. But in terms of Wanelo, like seeing how to build a product from scratch, seeing how to build the relationships with your early users was very valuable for me.
Thank you.
Last question. If you were to go back to nature, time travel,
Okay.
what would you change in your education?
Great question. If I had known things that I know today, I mean, even in that case, I couldn't change much because in Turkey, system is so concrete. I mean, I went to computer engineering not because I knew what computer engineering was, just because I got a very high score in like university entrance exam, and I thought that computer engineering is something like playing computer games because it was basic computers, and it didn't turn out to be like that. And even the courses I selected during my education, it wasn't like very conscious decisions. Because at the end of the day, you have a limited set of things that you can do, and you try to do your best. If the only thing I would change is that probably, and it wouldn't be a real change, I would be probably unhappier because I would know that, hey, there are better courses taught in Stanford or Berkeley or MIT. Why didn't I have the same chance in Turkey, although I was like considerably one of the best colleges in Turkey at that point.
Is it content you're referring to as better, or are you talking about something completely different? Like, do you want a user experience course, or what are you talking about?
Not only content. So honestly, we had really good professors in college, and there were really good courses. The thing is that, for example, in here, in Stanford, in the 3rd year or so, you can get information retrieval or web crawling course. Okay, it's a very specific thing, and I had to learn it. For example, when I worked on Kanye, I had to crawl many e-commerce sites. I didn't know anything like theoretical about it. I had to learn it by practice, by looking at the libraries and stuff. Although when I was in college, I had the power and like the brain that learned those things, but they were and time, great thing, yeah, and time. But there were, I wouldn't say basic, but more predictable courses, I should say. Not very interesting things. Basic things, for example, compilers, image processing, things like that.
Kaan, thank you very much for